Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's second video. We're going to have a look at the ECMWF extended model for today's second video. This is your 30-day / 42-day look at for the UK and for the rest of Europe as well. And I shall get on with that for you in a moment. Just say that the first video today was the 6 AM upload. I've got the 10 to 14 day with all other regular features coming up to you later on this afternoon. Please like, share, and subscribe on videos. We thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Right, we're going to start off with week 1, mean sea level pressure anomaly, taking us through the current week, which is the 16th to 23rd of January. So we've got an, a mid-Atlantic ridge through the Atlantic heading up towards Greenland, with a trough of low pressure across many parts of Europe, actually, in the week ahead. So we bring cold air down the western side of Europe this week, and we're going to bring mild air from the south and southwest into the eastern, southeastern side of Europe. The 500 millibar height anomaly shows it all up very nicely, again with a mid-Atlantic ridge heading northwards, a trough of low, elongating through central-western parts of Europe, and there's a ridge over into the far eastern part of Europe, and so the jet stream and wind flow could be doing something a little bit like that. So the temperature anomaly shows a proper east-west split this week. It's colder than average in the west, milder than average in the east. So we've got the UK and Ireland coming out with temperature anomalies around 1 to 3 degrees below average, even colder than that with some parts of France in towards the Alpine regions. Excuse me, temperature there between around 3 and 6 degrees, cold at the north. These cold average conditions extend down into the Mediterranean too, and through the Low Countries, Belgium, Holland, Netherlands, and into Germany. East and north of that, it goes milder. So the far south of Norway still looks quite cool there, but the rest of Scandinavia looks generally above average. And much of Eastern Europe very significantly above average. The most deep red colours there. That's like 6 to 10 degrees above average. Through Ukraine, down towards the Black Sea, into the Balkans as well. Romania also looking, very, very mild through there. And much of northeast Europe looks very mild too. So the Baltic Sea states of Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, looking really mild through there. Up to Finland, looks generally very mild, but for the Finns, and into much of Norway actually, and Sweden as well, generally above average temperature. So very mild scene across northern, eastern, northeast parts of Europe, colder out west. Spain, Portugal has a mix of temperatures, so close to average through there. The eastern part of the Med looks really quite warm, maybe not too bad for a getaway to one of the Greek islands. Actually dry through there as well, so that was quite nice, doesn't it? Maybe we want to get on a plane, get a bit of winter sun. I reckon the Greek islands, you're going to be doing okay. Very wet into Italy, and the central part of the Med extends over the Adriatic into the Balkans, and in particular, really wet through there, and then going northwards up this eastern side of Europe over the Black Sea itself, looks generally quite dry. Some parts of Spain, relatively dry. Northern Spain, very wet. And through the central bowl of the Med, we've got a mix of where it gets wetter, really, the further east you happen to go. Northwards of that, so it's drier than average to the UK and Ireland, generally, although there will be some wintry showers around. And pretty dry through Germany and into the Low Countries as well. France, south of France looks relatively wet. Northern France looks a little bit drier. And then north of that, in towards northern Europe, so where it's wetter than average around the Baltic Sea states and up into the far north of Scandinavia, drier perhaps through southern parts of Norway and Sweden. A lot of variation from area to area precipitation wise this week. Week 2 will be the 23rd to the 30th of January. So then we get a large ridge of high pressure building across much of Europe. So basically high pressure takes over and dominates the weather through the final week of January. Maybe hinting at something a bit colder, trying to push back in from the north into some of those far northeastern areas. 500 millibar height anomaly for week 2. Looks like that. Big change from week 1 to week 2. Large area of above average heights is dominating weather. There's below average heights into the northwest of Russia, so we might start putting something a little bit colder into the extreme northeast of Europe there. Temperature anomalies for week 2. Going milder than average for much of northern Europe, so forget that idea, but it gets colder into the northeast. Actually, just looks really mild, really, for Scandinavia, the Baltic Sea states, into the far northeast of Europe too. Goes up mild average again through the UK and through Ireland, both just south of that. Still rather cold through France, into southern parts of Germany, for example. Italy also looking quite cold, maybe getting a bit cold through the Balkans as well, actually. In the final week of January. So I know a lot of you, in the Balkans, you're waiting for your winter to get going. Maybe be a little bit colder there in the last week of January through some parts of the Balkans. Down into the Mediterranean, so average temperatures through Spain, Portugal really turns colder through Greece, and looks pretty chilly through the central pole of the Mediterranean as well there. And precipitation-wise, we look like that. So it's about large region of high pressure, just largely dry and average in many areas, especially in the west of Europe. So Spain, France, UK, Ireland, the Low Countries, western parts of Germany, probably up to Denmark and southern Norway and Sweden. Very dry for those areas. Not as dry, but still on the dry and average side across the eastern part of Europe. You really have to go down to the extreme southeastern corner of Mediterranean to find wetter than average conditions, and also around Norway and northern parts of Scandinavia as well. Week 3 is going to be the 30th of January to the 6th of February. So low pressure deepening in the Atlantic, starting to break down this ridge of high pressure. We begin to revert to more of a west-southwesterly flow. So suggesting perhaps begin to go a bit more unsettled in the far north and west of Europe. 500 millibar heights keeps that area of above average heights going. Across most parts of Europe, low pressure is deepening though in the Atlantic. The temperature anomaly looks just largely mild and average in many areas, right away from the west, right away from Spain and Portugal and Ireland in the far west, all the way over to Black Sea in the east, generally above average with those temperatures there. And the precipitation anomaly, it's definitely turning wetter in the Atlantic. It looks like there's plenty of rain waiting in the wings there, doesn't it? That's probably going to be heading in that direction. I would have thought dry conditions probably shifting down towards central, southern and eastern parts of Europe. Week 4 will be the 6th to the 13th of February. And we get low pressure just to west of UK and Ireland. High pressure is over in the eastern, southeastern part of Europe. It is a weakening signal, it has to be said. The 500 millibar height anomaly, again, bringing low pressure in from the Atlantic into West Europe. High pressure shifting more towards the eastern side of Europe. The temperature anomaly, largely above average, so perhaps turning a little bit cooler actually for the UK and for Ireland. But most areas are actually above average with their temperature there. And the week for precipitation anomaly, it's weakening signals there, but it does look as though it's turning wetter in the west, and the drier conditions are shifting more towards the eastern, southeastern side of Europe. Right, that's your 30-day look ahead done. Let's go through week's 5 and 6 data before we go. So week 5 is the 13th to the 20th of February. Very weak signals here. Some low pressure towards Iceland and high pressure close to Greece. Otherwise, not much doing there. The 500 millibar height anomaly looks like that. So a little bit of low pressure in the Atlantic, high pressure towards the eastern side of Europe. Otherwise, not much going on. There is some blocking right over the Arctic, over the North Pole. If we get an SSW, Southern Stratospheric Warming, at the at the end of January, it'll be kind of like mid-February when you'd expect to start seeing a bit of a response to that. There is a little bit of blocking there in the North Pole, but certainly not in a position to do anything cold for us. The temperature anomaly just widely above average, really, across most parts of Europe, especially in the east, but also out west too. And precipitation-wise, very weak signals, not really enough to work with. And then lastly, week 6 will be the 20th to 27th of February. And again, nothing doing at all really to be able to work with it. Very weak signal there. 500 millibar height starts to show some high pressure up towards Greenland. Again, could that be a bit of a response to any potential SSW? It's 6 weeks away. So it's when you expect to start seeing a response. If we get an SSW end of January, opening days of February, you expect to see a response in the second half of February. So maybe, you know, but it's so far away and such a weak signal that can't really put any credence into that. The temperature anomaly is warmest in the eastern part of Europe, and the precipitation anomaly a little bit wetter in the North Sea and whatnot, but again, very, very weak signals. I think we leave weeks 4, 5, and 6 alone. We've got a clear trend for the first 3 weeks, which is that we're starting cold at the moment. Of course, we get high pressure building in for the end of January, and then shift to something a bit more unsettled in early February. Where we go beyond that, you know, for weeks 4, 5, and 6, I think we leave that alone for the time being. Of course, we will be focusing on that in the coming weeks. Right, that's your 30-day look ahead. Don't remember, it's just a snapshot of what the model is showing. Could look completely different when we look at it again next Tuesday for our extended European outlook. We will be looking at this model again on Saturday morning, actually. And with that one, we're just focusing on the UK and Ireland, and let's have a little bit of a laugh with that update. So that'll be coming up at the weekend. We got a tentative bulletin there on the way a little bit later on, so make sure you check that one out for this week's extended ECM WF 30-day / 42-day forecast for the UK and for Europe too. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.